The year is 2025. Donald J. Trump, defying all odds and pollsters, has returned to the Oval Office after a tumultuous 4 years out of power. His signature red tie seemed a little brighter, and his hair a shade more golden under the television lights. The world watched with a mix of apprehension and, honestly, weary resignation. They knew what came next. Trump, in his inimitable style, did not disappoint. "We're going to make America great again, he boomed, his voice echoing across the East Room. "And that means standing up to those who take advantage of us, those who steal our jobs, those who cheat." The rhetoric was familiar, a throwback to his first term. This time, however, his target wasn't China. It was a country much closer to home: Canada. The announcement sent shockwaves across the globe. Trump, citing national security concerns and a ballooning trade deficit, slapped hefty tariffs on a wide range of Canadian goods. From automobiles to lumber, steel to maple syrup, no sector was spared. The tariffs, some as high as 35%, were designed to protect American industries and workers, or so the administration claimed. "They've been taking us for a ride for too long," Trump declared, his words dripping with disdain. "But those days are over. We're playing hardball now." The message was clear. In Trump's America, even the closest allies weren't immune from his brand of economic nationalism. In Ottawa, the mood was one of disbelief and anger. Prime Minister Mark Carney, the former Bank of England governor who had taken the helm of the Canadian government just a year earlier, found himself facing his first major international crisis. The Canadian economy, heavily reliant on trade with its southern neighbor, was thrust into turmoil. "These tariffs are unjustified, unwarranted, and unacceptable," Carney declared in a televised address to the nation, his voice firm but measured. "They will hurt businesses, they will cost jobs, and they will damage the lives of hardworking Canadians." The impact was immediate and severe. Canadian automakers, heavily integrated into North American supply chains, saw production lines grind to a halt. Lumber mills in British Columbia and Quebec, already grappling with a slowing housing market, faced layoffs and closures. The iconic Canadian maple syrup industry, a source of national pride, was hit with a 40% tariff, sending prices soaring. Across Canada, from the bustling metropolis of Toronto to the windswept plains of Saskatchewan, a sense of betrayal and apprehension set in. The United States, a country that Canadians had long considered a friend and ally, had suddenly become an economic adversary. Canada refused to be bullied. Prime Minister Carney, known for his calm demeanor and steady hand, vowed a measured but firm response. "We will not escalate, but we will not back down," he declared. Canada retaliated with tariffs of its own, targeting key American exports like orange juice, bourbon, and agricultural products. The Canadian government also announced a series of support measures for industries and workers hit by the American tariffs. Subsidies, loan guarantees, and retraining programs were rolled out to cushion the blow. "We will stand with our workers, we will support our businesses, and we will defend our interests," Carney assured Canadians. The Canadian public, known for their politeness and reserve, showed a steely resolve. Boycotts of American goods were organized, with consumers switching to Canadian alternatives whenever possible. "We're all in this together" became a common refrain, a testament to the spirit of solidarity that swept across the nation. The trade war, however, was starting to bite on both sides of the border. American consumers faced higher prices for everything from cars to ketchup. Businesses, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, struggled to cope with the rising cost of inputs and disrupted supply chains. The trade war with the United States dominated Canadian politics. In the House of Commons, debates raged between the governing Liberal Party and the opposition Conservatives. The Conservatives, while critical of Trump's tariffs, accused Carney of being too soft, of not standing up strongly enough for Canadian interests. "The Prime Minister's weak-kneed approach is hurting Canadians," thundered the Conservative leader, her voice echoing across the chamber. "We need to hit back harder, target their weak spots, make them feel the pain." Carney, in his characteristically calm and measured tone, defended his government's response. "We are defending our interests with strength and resolve," he retorted, "but we will not be drawn into a tit-for-tat trade war that would only hurt both our countries." The New Democratic Party, a left-leaning party with a strong labor base, called for greater government support for workers and communities affected by the trade war. They urged the government to invest in job creation programs and provide assistance to those facing unemployment or underemployment. The trade war between the United States and Canada sent shockwaves through the global economy. The World Trade Organization was called upon to mediate the dispute, But its efforts were hampered by the Trump administration's skepticism of multilateral institutions. The European Union, already locked in its own trade disputes with the United States, expressed deep concern over the escalating trade tensions. China, watching from the sidelines, saw an opportunity to strengthen its own economic ties with Canada. American businesses and farmers, particularly those reliant on exports to Canada, felt the pinch. The agricultural sector, already reeling from the effects of climate change and low commodity prices, was hit hard by Canadian retaliatory tariffs. As the trade war dragged on, both countries felt the economic pain. The dispute highlighted the interconnectedness of the global economy and the dangers of protectionist policies. The trade war with the United States forced Canada to rethink its economic relationships. Prime Minister Carney, recognizing the need to diversify Canada's trading partners, embarked on a series of international trips to strengthen ties with countries in Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Canada signed a free trade agreement with the European Union, a landmark deal that had been years in the making. It also joined the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, a trade pact encompassing 11 countries in the Asia-Pacific region. These agreements, along with increased trade missions and investment deals, were part of Canada's strategy to reduce its reliance on the United States. The goal was to build a more diversified and resilient economy, less vulnerable to the whims of American protectionism. Canada also deepened its engagement with international organizations like the G20 and the World Economic Forum, advocating for open markets and a rules-based international order. As the economic and political costs of the trade war mounted, both the United States and Canada began to signal a willingness to negotiate. Back-channel talks between officials resumed, aimed at finding a face-saving way out of the impasse. After months of tense negotiations, the two countries announced a truce. The agreement, reached just before the 2026 U.S. midterm elections, saw both sides agree to roll back some of the most damaging tariffs. The truce was welcomed by businesses and consumers on both sides of the border, but it was clear that the underlying tensions remained. The trade war had left its mark, eroding trust and raising questions about the future of the U.S.-Canada relationship. The trade war of 2025 served as a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of the global economy and the dangers of protectionism. It also highlighted the importance of international cooperation and the need for a rules-based trading system. As the world emerged from the shadow of the trade war, the future of the U.S.-Canada relationship, and indeed the global trading order, remained uncertain.